Imagine walking into a room where everyone turns to look at you. Some smile politely, some whisper quietly, but most simply watch. In that moment you can feel it, respect or the lack of it. Respect is not about how much money you have in your pocket, the car you drive, or the job title on your business card. Respect is about presence. It's about what people feel when you enter the room, what they whisper when you leave, and how seriously they take your words when you speak. Here's the truth nobody likes to admit. People don't respect you for what you claim to be. They respect you for what you consistently show them. Respect is never given freely. It's earned, it's protected, and it can be lost in an instant. And most of the time, it's not what you do that's holding you back. It's what you keep allowing yourself to do wrong. It's the habits you refuse to let go of that keep you small, unnoticed, overlooked. I want you to think about this. How many times have you walked away from a conversation, a meeting, or even a relationship and felt invisible? Felt like your words carried no weight, like your presence didn't shift the atmosphere. That's not because you're not capable. It's not because you don't have something valuable to offer. It's because somewhere, somehow, you've been practicing habits that chip away at your authority. Habits that signal to others, without you realizing it, don't take me seriously. Respect is a currency, more powerful than money. Money can buy attention, but only respect earns loyalty. People may admire your success, but they will only follow you when they respect you. And here's the challenge. To earn respect, you don't need to add more things to your life. You don't need to pretend to be someone you're not. You don't need to wear a mask. You need to strip away. You need to remove the habits that keep you from standing in your full strength. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through 5 powerful habits that silently kill respect. These are the behaviors that make people dismiss you without even telling you. And the moment you decide to break them, not tomorrow, not someday, but today, you will notice a shift. People will lean in when you talk. They'll listen, not because they have to, but because they want to. You will stop chasing respect and start commanding it. So ask yourself, right now, are you ready to face the truth? Are you ready to let go of the habits that have been holding you back, even if it stings a little to hear them? Because once you do, the way the world sees you will never be the same again. When you think about respect, the first thing most people get wrong is believing it comes from keeping everyone happy. They think if they agree with everybody, if they never rock the boat, if they say yes to every request, then people will like them more and eventually respect them. But here's the harsh truth. People don't respect the person who bends over backwards to please everyone. They respect the person who knows who they are, draws the line, and doesn't compromise their standards just to win temporary approval. People-pleasing is a silent trap. It doesn't feel destructive at first, because it masquerades as kindness. It disguises itself as generosity. You tell yourself, I'm just being helpful, I'm just being accommodating, I don't want to upset anyone. But underneath that, what you're really doing is sacrificing your voice, your power, and your authenticity. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you swallow your opinion because you're afraid of conflict, you're trading away a piece of respect, both self-respect and the respect others could have had for you. Think about the people you admire the most. Are they the ones who never disagree, never speak up, never draw boundaries? Or are they the ones who stand their ground, even when it's uncomfortable? Respect grows when you show backbone. It grows when you demonstrate that your self-worth is not dependent on everyone else's approval. And let me tell you, nothing drains respect faster than living your life as if you're auditioning for someone else's acceptance. When you become a people pleaser, you send a dangerous signal. You're telling the world that your value is negotiable, that you can be swayed, that you'd rather be liked than respected. And let's be honest, people who pick up on that will use it. They'll take advantage of it. They'll learn that they can push, and you'll bend. They'll realize they can dump responsibilities on you, and you'll carry them without complaint. They'll come to expect your silence, your agreement, your submission. And soon you'll look around and realize that while everyone may like you on the surface, nobody truly respects you. Respect requires friction. It requires that sometimes people won't like what you say or what you decide, but in that discomfort they see your strength. They may not agree with you in the moment, but they'll remember that you stood firm. And in time, that's what creates lasting respect. I've seen this countless times in workplaces, in friendships, and families. The people pleaser becomes the go-to person for everyone else's needs. They are always the one picking up extra work, always the one sacrificing their time, always the one biting their tongue. And at first they're praised. You're so dependable, you're so easygoing, you're such a team player. But look closely, those compliments are surface level. Deep down, those same people know you won't push back. They know you won't hold them accountable. And because of that, they don't see you as a leader, they see you as a servant. Respect is not about being agreeable. It's about being authentic. It's about being consistent with your values, even when it costs you comfort. People-pleasing robs you of that because it forces you to wear masks. You show one version of yourself to one person, another version to someone else, all depending on what you think they want from you. But eventually that cracks. People sense when you're not being real. They may not be able to point it out, but they feel it. And you cannot earn genuine respect from anyone while pretending to be someone you're not. The hardest part of breaking people-pleasing is learning to say no. Saying no feels risky. It feels like rejection. It feels like you're disappointing someone. But saying no is not selfish. It's powerful. Every time you say no to something that does not serve you, you're saying yes to your values, your boundaries, and your self-respect. And people notice that. They notice that you're not easily swayed. They notice that you have standards. They may not like it in the moment, but over time they come to respect you more for it. Think about the strongest relationships in your life. The ones where you feel safe, valued, and respected. They're not built on endless agreement. They're built on honesty. They're built on being able to say, I don't agree with you, or that doesn't work for me, and still holding the relationship intact. If someone walks away from you because you stopped pleasing them, then they were never respecting you in the first place. They were just enjoying the version of you that bent to their will. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be liked, or do you want to be respected? Because those are not the same thing. Being liked is temporary. It changes depending on how well you're catering to others in the moment. Respect, on the other hand, is permanent. It sticks because it's based on character, not convenience. And here's the truth. When you stop trying to please everyone, the right people will still be by your side. And their respect for you will grow stronger because they'll know they're dealing with someone who's real. Breaking the habit of people-pleasing takes courage. It takes practice. It takes learning to handle the discomfort of disappointing others. But every time you do it, you reclaim a piece of your power. You rebuild your self-respect, and you teach others how to treat you. Because here's the final truth. People will treat you exactly how you train them to. If you teach them that you'll always bend, they'll never stop pushing. But if you teach them that your respect has boundaries, they will rise to meet them. So stop begging for approval. Stop twisting yourself into someone else's version of acceptable. The moment you stop living to please everyone is the moment you start commanding respect. Not just from others, but from yourself. And that, more than anything, is where true respect begins. Excuses are one of the fastest ways to strip yourself of respect. Every time you offer an excuse, whether to yourself or to others, what you're really doing is saying, I can't be trusted to own my choices. And when people sense that, they stop relying on you. They stop seeing you as dependable. They stop respecting you. Respect is built on accountability, and excuses are the opposite of accountability. They are the language of avoidance, the shield of weakness, the mask we wear to hide from responsibility. Think about it. We live in a world where almost everyone has a reason why they didn't follow through, why they couldn't deliver, why it wasn't their fault. I didn't have time. I wasn't given the opportunity. The circumstances weren't right. They didn't support me. But here's the reality. The people who earn respect don't play that game. They don't outsource their responsibility to luck, to other people, or to the universe. They own everything. The good, the bad, the wins, and the losses. When they succeed, they're humble enough to acknowledge the help they had along the way. And when they fail, they're strong enough to say, that was on me, here's what I'll do differently. Excuses are seductive because they protect your ego in the short term. When you say, I couldn't because of this or that, you feel momentarily relieved. You've shifted the blame somewhere else. But while your ego gets a little comfort, your character pays the price. People hear your excuses, and what they really hear is weakness. They hear a lack of ownership. They hear that you are someone who can't be counted on when things get hard. And make no mistake, respect isn't earned when things are easy. It's earned when challenges show up, and you rise to meet them without pointing fingers. The problem with excuses is they don't just damage how others see you, they damage how you see yourself. Every time you tell yourself, I couldn't because of this, you carve a groove in your mind. That groove becomes a habit, and before long your brain doesn't even bother searching for solutions anymore. It defaults to defense, it defaults to justification, and eventually you don't just stop earning respect from others, you lose respect for yourself. Because deep down you know when you're making excuses, you know when you're not living up to your own potential, and that inner disappointment eats away at your confidence and your self-belief. Now think about the opposite. Think about the kind of person who says, I didn't deliver, and here's how I'm gonna fix it. Think about the person who doesn't flinch from failure, but uses it as fuel. That person commands attention. They inspire trust. They gain respect. Because they're rare, most people hide. Most people deflect. The ones who don't, the ones who face failure head-on, are the ones others naturally look up to. Excuses are also dangerous because they're contagious. If you're always around someone who's full of excuses, you'll start to absorb their mindset. You'll start to think it's normal to justify, normal to blame, normal to dodge responsibility. But if you surround yourself with people who hold themselves accountable, you'll notice the opposite. They'll challenge you to rise higher. They'll refuse to let you settle for excuses, and in that environment, you'll grow. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in your life is replacing excuses with ownership. Instead of saying, I didn't have time, say, I didn't make time. Instead of saying, they didn't give me the opportunity, say, I didn't create the opportunity. That shift, as small as it sounds, transforms you from powerless to powerful. Excuses hand over your control. Ownership takes it back. And people respect those who take control. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to win every time, but you do have to stand behind your actions. People respect effort, even when it fails, far more than they respect excuses. Because excuses are cheap. They cost you nothing to say but everything to your reputation. Effort, even failed effort, costs courage, costs energy, costs vulnerability. And that is what people notice. That is what earns you respect. Think of every excuse you've ever made as a brick. One excuse, one brick. Keep stacking them, and soon you've built a wall between you and the respect you want. That wall gets taller and thicker with every justification. The only way to break it down is with honesty and responsibility. It's admitting, yes, I fell short. It's learning, adapting, and refusing to repeat the same mistake. That honesty tears down the wall brick by brick until respect can reach you again. The moment you stop making excuses, you immediately stand out. You become someone people can rely on. Someone they know won't hide when things go wrong. Someone they can trust with responsibility. And trust is the foundation of respect. Without it, nothing lasts. With it, you become unshakable in people's eyes. So the next time you catch yourself about to make an excuse, stop. Ask yourself, what am I really doing here? Am I protecting my ego, or am I protecting my character? Because your ego might crave protection, but your character craves growth. Respect doesn't live in excuses. Respect lives in accountability. Respect lives in the willingness to say, it's on me, and the strength to prove it with action. Remove the habit of excuse making, and you remove one of the biggest barriers between you and the respect you deserve. People may forget your mistakes, but they will never forget your excuses, and they will never forget your accountability either. Which one do you want to be remembered for? If there is one habit that silently erodes respect faster than almost anything else, it's gossip and negativity. You may think people don't notice, or that it's harmless conversation, but the truth is, every word you speak builds or breaks the image people have of you. And when your words are soaked in gossip or negativity, they don't just poison the people you're talking about, they poison you. They paint you as someone who cannot be trusted, someone who thrives on tearing others down instead of lifting them up. Respect cannot grow in that kind of soil. Gossip feels tempting because it gives you a momentary sense of power. When you share something about someone else, their mistakes, their secrets, their flaws, it feels like you're holding special knowledge, like you're in control of the narrative. But here's what you forget. The person you're talking to knows one undeniable truth. If you gossip about others with them, you'll gossip about them with others. You've instantly proven you're not safe. And no one respects the person who can't be trusted with their name when they're not in the room. Negativity works the same way. You may not think complaining or always pointing out what's wrong is damaging, but it is. People are drawn to energy, and energy is either contagious or repelling. When your energy is constantly negative, when every conversation with you turns into a storm of complaints, criticism, or cynicism, people slowly start pulling away. They stop listening, they stop caring, and they stop respecting you. Because respect isn't just about strength, it's about influence. And if your influence only spreads darkness, then people will distance themselves from you. Ask yourself, do you feel respected when you hear someone gossiping about others? Do you feel uplifted when someone complains endlessly? Or do you feel drained? That's the key. Gossip and negativity drain respect because they drain energy. Nobody walks away from those conversations feeling inspired. Nobody says, that person is a leader. That person is strong. Instead, they say, that person is bitter. That person is petty. That person can't be trusted. The truth is, people who gossip are usually insecure. They're afraid to confront directly, so they attack from the shadows. They think that by pulling others down, they raise themselves up. But that's never how it works. Respect doesn't grow when you lower someone else. It grows when you raise yourself, when you stay above the drama, when you refuse to indulge in the noise. It takes strength to stay silent when others are gossiping. It takes discipline to redirect negativity towards solutions. And that strength, that discipline, is exactly what earns you respect. Negativity also blinds you. When you're always focused on what's wrong, you stop seeing what's possible. You stop creating. You stop building, and people notice that. They notice when someone is a problem finder instead of a problem solver. Respect belongs to those who bring answers, not complaints. It belongs to those who light a path forward, not those who keep everyone stuck in the dark. Think of the people you admire most. They don't waste their breath tearing others apart. They don't sit in rooms whispering about things that don't matter. They don't pour negativity into every situation. Instead, they stand tall. They protect other people's names when they're not around. They look for solutions in the middle of challenges. They speak life into conversations instead of draining the life out of them. And because of that, people trust them. People respect them. Gossip also makes you small. It signals that you don't have enough happening in your own life, so you live in the shadows of others. It shows that your energy is focused outward, on drama, instead of inward, on growth. If you want to earn respect, you must flip that. Focus less on who said what, who did what, and more on who you are becoming. People respect the ones who are too busy building their own vision to worry about tearing down someone else's. And let's not forget, The person you gossip about often hears about it. Words travel, negativity spreads, and once your reputation becomes that of someone who talks behind backs, it's almost impossible to shake. Trust is fragile. One careless conversation can undo years of credibility. Do you really want to gamble your respect for the cheap thrill of a little gossip? The strongest people are not the ones who can throw the sharpest insults. The strongest people are the ones who can hold their tongue when it's easy to lash out. They're the ones who can walk away from negativity without feeding it. They're the ones who can confront problems directly instead of talking about people behind their backs. That's strength. That's leadership. And that's what respect is built on. Negativity is addictive because misery loves company. But you have to decide, do you want to be respected or do you want to fit in with the crowd that complains, gossips, and drags others down? Because those two roads never lead to the same destination. Respect doesn't come from fitting in with small talk. Respect comes from rising above it. So here's the challenge. The next time you're in a conversation and gossip starts flowing, stop it, redirect it, or simply walk away. The next time you feel the urge to complain endlessly, pause. Ask yourself, am I bringing a problem or am I bringing a solution? Train yourself to be the person who brings light instead of darkness, solutions instead of drama, presence instead of poison. When people know that their name is safe in your mouth, they'll trust you. When people know that you'll bring energy and positivity into the room, they'll want you around. And when people know that you rise above the petty noise, they'll respect you, not just for what you say, but for who you are. Remove the habit of gossip and negativity, and you'll notice something powerful. People will start speaking differently about you. They'll say your presence feels refreshing. They'll seek you out, not to share rumors, but to share opportunities. They'll admire you, not for what you tear down, but for what you build up. That is the foundation of respect, and it begins with choosing silence over gossip and solutions over negativity. There is one thing people will always measure you by, whether you realize it or not: your word. The promises you make, the commitments you agree to, the things you say you'll do, they define how people see you, and nothing destroys respect faster than breaking your word. When you say you'll do something and then fail to follow through, you send a message louder than any excuse could cover. That message is simple: you cannot rely on me. Respect cannot survive in that space. Think about the people you admire most. Why do you admire them? It's not just because they are talented, skilled, or successful. It's because when they speak, their words hold weight. You know that when they give their word, you don't have to second guess them. That kind of consistency builds trust, and trust is the foundation of respect. Without trust, nothing stands. With it, even the most difficult relationships can thrive. Breaking your word can happen in many ways. It's not always about grand promises. Sometimes it's small things, saying you'll call someone and never doing it, promising to show up at a certain time and arriving late, committing to a task and leaving it unfinished. These little cracks in your reliability seem minor in the moment, but over time they form a pattern, and patterns are what people remember. They don't remember the one time you flaked. They remember the fact that they can't count on you consistently, and once that belief settles in, respect begins to erode. Respect is not about perfection, but it is about integrity. And integrity means that your actions match your words. When you constantly say things you don't mean or commit to things you don't honor, you weaken your credibility. It's like currency. Every broken word devalues you in the marketplace of trust. Eventually you can't buy respect anymore because your word has lost all worth. Now let's look at the opposite. When someone always keeps their word, even in small things, their reputation grows. They don't even have to demand respect. It comes naturally. People listen when they speak, because they know those words aren't cheap. They know those words are backed by action. Their reliability makes them stand out in a world where promises are casually made and easily broken. There's another layer to this habit. Breaking your word doesn't just affect how others see you, it affects how you see yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and fail to follow through, you chip away at your own self-respect. You train yourself not to trust your own voice. You make it harder to believe in your own abilities. And if you don't respect yourself, why would anyone else? One of the greatest signs of maturity is learning to honor your word, even when it's inconvenient. It's easy to keep promises when it costs you nothing. The real test is whether you keep them when you're tired, when it's difficult, when it requires sacrifice. That's when people are watching. That's when they decide whether you're someone to respect or someone to dismiss. Respect doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in those moments of difficulty where you prove you're reliable regardless of the cost. It's also worth mentioning that sometimes breaking your word isn't about dishonesty. It's about overpromising. Many people commit to too many things because they want to please everyone, or they don't want to say no. But when you stretch yourself too thin, you inevitably fail to deliver. And in the end, the effect is the same. People see you as unreliable. That's why one of the most powerful things you can do for respect is to be careful with your promises. Don't say yes unless you mean it. Don't commit unless you're willing to back it up. People would rather hear a clear no than a false yes. A no might disappoint in the moment, but a broken promise destroys trust in the long run. You also have to recognize that every promise is a reflection of your character. When you say you'll do something, you are tying your name to that action. And people are watching to see whether your name carries honor or emptiness. Leaders, mentors, and friends alike earn respect by building a reputation where their name equals reliability. Imagine being that person, the one everyone knows will show up, the one everyone knows will follow through. That kind of respect is priceless, and it comes from the simple, disciplined act of keeping your word. Of course, there will be moments when circumstances truly prevent you from keeping a commitment. Life is unpredictable, but even then, respect can be preserved if you take responsibility, if you acknowledge it openly, communicate honestly, and do everything you can to make it right. People will still respect you, because it's not about never failing, it's about how you handle the moments when failure happens. Excuses erode respect, but accountability maintains it. So ask yourself, how much is your word worth right now? Do people hear your promises and believe them, or do they quietly brace themselves for disappointment? Do you follow through consistently, or do you treat commitments like they're disposable? If you want to earn respect, this is one of the most powerful areas you can transform. Stop saying things you don't mean, stop making promises you don't plan to keep, and start living in a way where your words and actions are one and the same. Respect is not built on speeches, on titles, or on appearances. It's built on the small, consistent choices that prove your reliability. Every time you honor your word, you're adding a brick to the foundation of your reputation. Every time you break it, you're taking one away. Build carefully, build consistently, and soon your word will carry weight that commands respect without you ever having to ask for it. When your word becomes unshakable, so does your reputation. People will listen when you speak, not because you demanded their respect, but because you earned it. And once you earn it, you won't have to chase it ever again. One of the most subtle but destructive habits that strips away respect is the need for constant validation. On the surface, it doesn't seem harmful. After all, wanting to be acknowledged, wanting to be appreciated, even wanting to be praised feels normal. But when your self-worth begins to depend on whether people approve of you, you give away your power. You hand over control of your identity, your choices, and your confidence to others. And the moment you do that, respect slips through your fingers. Think about it. When you constantly seek validation, what you're really saying is, I don't know my value unless you tell me. You're outsourcing your confidence to other people's opinions. And people can sense that. They can feel the insecurity in your words and your decisions, in the way you carry yourself. And here's the truth. People don't respect insecurity that needs to be fed by applause. They respect the person who knows their worth, even when no one is clapping. The need for validation shows up in many forms. It might be the person who posts online constantly, measuring their value by likes and comments. It might be the employee who can't move forward with a project until every colleague praises their idea. It might be the friend who changes their personality depending on who they're with, just to feel accepted. At its core, it's the same problem, an addiction to approval. And like every addiction, it only grows stronger the more you feed it. The danger of seeking validation is that it makes you predictable and easily controlled. People quickly learn that if they give you a little praise, you'll bend in their direction. If they withhold approval, you'll shrink. That means your choices stop being your own. You're no longer living based on your principles. You're living based on other people's reactions. And nobody truly respects the person who has no backbone of their own. They may use you, they may manipulate you, but they won't respect you. True respect is earned when you stand firm in your identity regardless of the crowd. When you can walk into a room and not need everyone to like you. That's when people take notice. When you can share your opinion and not flinch at disagreement, that's when people start listening. Respect grows when you validate yourself first, when your sense of worth comes from within, not from the outside. This doesn't mean you shouldn't value feedback or appreciation. Feedback is essential for growth, and appreciation is a beautiful thing to receive. The difference is this: do you need it to feel valuable, or do you see it as a bonus? People who earn respect don't crumble without validation. They keep moving, keep working, keep showing up, whether anyone is cheering for them or not. That independence is magnetic. It makes people admire you because it shows strength, discipline, and confidence that doesn't waver. Look at history, at leaders, creators, and pioneers who changed the world. None of them waited for validation before acting. In fact, many of them were ridiculed, doubted, or rejected at first. If they had waited for applause, they would have never created anything of value. They moved forward because they believed in themselves even when no one else did. That's what earns respect, the courage to validate yourself when the world refuses to. Seeking validation also creates exhaustion. You spend your life chasing approval like a drug, needing another hit every day. One compliment feels good for a moment, then fades, and you're left craving the next one. Respect, however, comes from consistency. It's not about how many people approve of you in one moment, it's about how people view your character over time. And no one respects someone who constantly begs for recognition. They respect the person who quietly does the work, shows the results, and doesn't need to shout about it. The most powerful people in any room are not the loudest or the most desperate for attention. They are the ones who are calm, steady, and sure of themselves. They don't need to convince you of their worth. You can see it in how they carry themselves. They don't wait for you to tell them they're capable. They know it already. That quiet confidence earns more respect than 1,000 pleas for validation ever could. Breaking this habit requires courage. It means standing in front of the mirror and asking yourself, if no one praised me, if no one noticed me, if no one clapped for me, would I still believe in myself? If the answer is no, then it's time to build that belief from within. It's time to set standards for yourself and hold yourself accountable to them. Not because anyone else is watching, but because you are. You have to practice making decisions without asking for everyone's approval first. You have to learn to walk away from environments where your worth is only measured by how well you perform for others. And most importantly, you have to start validating yourself with action. Prove to yourself day after day that you are disciplined, that you are capable, that you are strong. When you build that track record with yourself, you won't need anyone else to tell you who you are. People will notice the difference. They'll see the shift in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak, in the way you choose. And that shift commands respect. Not because you demanded it, but because you showed it to yourself first. Respect always starts internally, before it becomes external. The truth is, when you stop seeking validation, you actually receive more of it. People are drawn to confidence that doesn't beg for attention. They admire the person who walks their own path, not the one who follows the crowd hoping for applause. And in the end, the validation you were chasing all along starts to come naturally, but by then, you won't need it anymore. Remove the habit of seeking validation, and you remove one of the biggest chains holding you back. You stop living for approval and start living for respect. You stop chasing claps and start building character. And that is what separates those who are merely liked from those who are deeply respected. Respect is not something you can beg for. It's not something you can manipulate out of people, and it's not something anyone can hand to you like a gift. Respect is earned, and it's earned through the choices you make every single day. The truth is, the world is watching you. People are noticing whether your actions align with your words, whether you stand firm in your values, whether you have the courage to be authentic instead of pleasing, blaming, gossiping, breaking promises, or chasing applause. You don't need to add more noise to your life to be respected. You don't need to be louder, flashier, or more impressive. What you need is subtraction. Strip away the habits that weaken you. Remove the need to please everyone, because pleasing everyone earns you nothing. Stop making excuses and own your life, because excuses don't inspire, ownership does. Cut off gossip and negativity, because no one respects poison. Honor your word, because reliability is the currency of trust. And stop begging for validation, because your worth is not up for debate. When you remove these habits, something powerful happens. People begin to lean in when you speak. They begin to value your time. They begin to trust your presence. You stop chasing respect and start commanding it without even trying. And more importantly, you begin to respect yourself in ways you never have before. Ask yourself, how do you want to be remembered? As someone who bent to everyone else's expectations, who always had an excuse, who spread more negativity than light, who couldn't be counted on, who lived for approval? Or as someone who stood tall, owned their choices, lifted others higher, honored their commitments, and walked with unshakable confidence? Respect is not about perfection, it's about integrity. It's about choosing strength over comfort, accountability over excuses, and authenticity over validation. It's about living in a way that when people think of you, the first words that come to their mind are trust, strength, and honor. So here is your challenge. Starting today, remove the habits that weaken you. Confront them honestly, strip them from your life, and replace them with discipline, ownership, and authenticity. Because the respect you want, the respect you deserve, the respect that lasts, it's waiting for you on the other side of these habits. And when you get there, when you finally earn that kind of respect, you'll realize something powerful. You'll realize you no longer need to chase it because it will follow you everywhere you go.